The first of the 5 mistakes is a reluctance towards pre-harvest marketing. And this is understandable. We learned some important lessons early in life, like don't count your chickens before they hatch. And maybe if you grew up in a farming community, you heard a story like, there once was a young farmer who had a great corn crop in July. And so he went down to the John Deere dealer and purchased a new tractor. Then the crop failed and he was broke. The thing is, what we're talking about is not the same as either one of those. We're not counting the chickens before they hatch. We're developing an expectation of how many chickens we should have in a normal year. And we're not purchasing a brand new tractor. We are protecting ourselves from downside price risk. And just in case you need your advice to be meme-worthy, here you go. Many of you have concerns about doing this, whether it has to do with crops being destroyed or just simply how do you sell something you don't own? It feels like fraud. Well, this is going to feel like splitting hairs at the moment, but technically you're not selling something you don't own. A futures contract is a contract between two parties to buy and sell at an agreed to price, a specific quantity and quality of something at a specific location. In the case of CME corn futures, it is 5,000 bushels of US number 2 yellow corn at specific elevators along the Illinois River, Lake Michigan, or some associated canals. These contracts are traded on a centralized exchange similar to the stock market, and the two counterparties do not know each other. The difference between a futures contract and, say, buying a stock is that when the trade takes place, no transfer of ownership occurs. It is simply a promise to buy or sell at a specific date in the future. Now, the CME Group grain and oilseed futures are deliverable contracts ensuring that there is a link between the spot market and the futures market. And we're going to get to that in later videos. But only a few are actually delivered. And that's not really the point. It's not really for a mechanism for actual physical exchange. The point of the exercise is it's a streamlined risk management and tool and helps maintain a liquid market. So you're not selling something that you don't have. And even if you did have it, you likely wouldn't deliver it. This is the beauty of offsetting transactions. And, as a producer, how often do you produce 0 bushels? And what is the worst production year you've ever seen? And you're buying crop insurance, right? The farmer who has not hedged a growing crop is not avoiding risk. The farmer who has not hedged a growing crop has downside price risk, meaning the price could go down once the farmer has committed that production. And the fact is, it almost always does. And, almost always is more likely than almost never, which is what I'm thinking your 0 bushel production scenario is. So the farmer who wants to protect themselves from downside price risk, can do a number of things. Number 1, they can hedge in the futures markets. They can contract at a local elevator. They can buy crop insurance policy that has price or revenue protection, or some mix of the above. All right, supposing I have convinced you. The process for hedging using the CME futures contract is that producers are going to sell their physical commodity in the cash market. So you're going to sell your crop at a local market or at a distance, whatever, but in a cash market. And users are going to buy their physical commodity in the cash market. And the reason this works is because holding basis constant, cash price and futures price have a positive relationship, meaning that they move the same direction. Create a brokerage account. To lock in a price level using futures, a producer will sell a futures contract at the CME, a user will buy a futures contract, and the broker is going to place this order on behalf of the producer or user. The producer will have to deposit a margin in their brokerage account, and then you initiate the hedge by having the broker fulfill or buy the transaction or sell the transaction that you want. At the end of the season, you offset and or deliver. You can offset by actually delivering, or you can offset by taking the opposite position. And this is the most common way of doing it. So the producer will then sell the cash grain to the local buyer of choice and buy the futures contract to offset the original position. Back to that original concern of a crop failure. If that happens, yes, you are responsible for being able to either offset the position or deliver. But you can do that by using your crop insurance proceeds to offset, or you can purchase a revenue-based crop insurance product to begin with. Just a quick note on crop insurance. It's heavily subsidized by the U.S. federal government, and there is an automatic free coverage that applies to most crops. Okay. I got it. Just take the February price, right? Because I'm supposed to hedge. No, not right. You need to have a price minimum. So find your production costs on a per bushel basis, and simplest production costs you can find are the total production cost divided by acres divided that by average yield. What if the spring price is below production cost? Well, the economist in me is asking, why are you planting something the market clearly doesn't want? But I do acknowledge that it is a tough spot to be in, and I don't necessarily have a good answer, and neither does Mr. Usset.